everyone. This is Scott Roberts with Expo Scientific. I'm here with none other than David Eicher, Editor-in-Chief of Astronomy Magazine. And you guys have been here. It's been a busy show. And, you're here with the CEO of Callback.
The head guy, yeah,
right?
Dan Hickey.
Right.
So I need to behave myself.
Right. I
this
thought
year.
you were the head guy.
No, not by a long shot. He's the head guy. I'm just assisting. Yeah. Just like I do you, pal.
Come on. No. So, here in the Explore Scientific booth, it was busy. I checked with other guys, including all of our competition. It was a busy show here at NEAF, which is great to see all these people back, all our friends, new faces as well. What are you guys seeing today here? Or not, the show actually started until about 30 minutes ago. So, but what did you see yesterday?
We're just getting a start on a Sunday. It's kind of chill, but we're ramping up for the second day here. Yesterday was really busy, though. And I think there was a lot of pent-up emotion of finally being back here with human beings at an actual real event together.
Right.
After the lockdown and everything. So we saw a great amount of enthusiasm, and I know you did too, Scott.
Sure.
And, there's so much new cool product that you guys have. We have a big anniversary year. It's the 50th anniversary of Astronomy Magazine this year. So we're doing some special things. We're about to roll out a new website and so on as well. So we have big eclipses coming and maybe a bright comet for late next year. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in the hobby right now. And Scott, you and I somehow are right at the center of a lot of this stuff.
Right. So it's also like Christmas for astronomers, right? It's a global astronomy month. There's an astronomy day this month. There's a dark sky week this month. So it's all celebration of the skies, astronomy, and also I think that one of the coup de grace is here being all together here at NEAF with all these different vendors and suppliers.
It is, and it's like Christmas at NEAF too, because to walk through here and see, we've got some a couple feet away from it, see all of the great instruments, the new telescopes, the technology that is making it much easier and more fun to get into the astronomy hobby now, thanks to people like Scott and Explore Scientific's line, than it ever has been before. There are things now built into the telescopes, built into imaging systems that can be
it seems like it's all these different separate technologies are converging into, so like we're the distributor now for Unistellar, for example.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so Frank Marchus gave a talk about citizen science with these telescopes, and I think that's exciting because although there's a lot of guys here with some very expensive and amazing telescope systems in observatories, maybe in their backyards.
Yes.
Products like the Unistellar make it possible to go on a science adventure, with a telescope that you just plop down, it aligns itself, you just collect data, and they network so that you can do real-time science, which is totally cool.
It's really amazing, you don't want to, throw hyperbole around, but it really truly is incredible because now for a relatively modest outlay, you can right away be into some fairly serious, amazing stuff, whether it be imaging, whether it be observing the planets at high resolution, whether it be observing deep sky objects. Now the uptake in this hobby is so much quicker and more satisfying that it's a magical time to be in the hobby. And we know it's an awesome time to be into astronomy as a subject because of the amazing flow of discoveries and realizations that we have of the big questions of where we came from, of what will happen to the universe, of what will happen to life on Earth, of how we got here, of how the galaxy has evolved. This is the best time to be into amateur astronomy and to be here at NEAF, seeing all the telescopes and everything that exists now, thanks to Scott and his collaborators.
Well, thanks to everyone that's here.
It's like being a kid. It's being a kid in a candy store. I mean, this is you walk around and you're just drunk with all the amazing things that are here and available and that you can do now in this hobby. So If you're getting into astronomy now, it is a golden age. It really, truly
That's right.
is.
You're right. You're right. And we can feel it, you know, and the people that are here at NEAF, I mean, are all ages. We see kids walking down the aisles. They're eyeing their next telescope or maybe their first telescope. We're seeing technology that's really kind of leapfrogging at this point, you know. So, you know, if you haven't been in the hobby before, you're thinking about, you can't even really call it a hobby. It really is a life change, you know, once you're in. And this lifestyle, I think, is one of the most remarkable ones that you could get involved with, because I don't know how to describe it except to say that you're going to meet some of the friendliest, most sharing, honest type of people that you could hope to associate yourself with. So
it's a great bunch of people in this field. And, you know, our old pal Carl Sagan used to say, you know, that 99% of people are born, they live out their life on this 2D world, if you will,
Right.
and they die. And they never realize their place in the cosmos. And now, you know, it's thanks to equipment and the information revolution that we have.
Right.
You know, you can really go out there. I mean, for me, when I was 14 years old, it was a mind-blowing moment when I happened to go to a star party in our little local town, and there, you know, was walking out of a house in a suburb, you know, with a little 6-inch Newtonian reflector. There was Saturn.
a little,
you know,
that was a big telescope.
well, then it was a pretty good scope, but
Yeah.
but you know, but you know, to see Saturn with its little yellow and orange globe and
Right.
rings, you know, live with photons, you know, very crisp view, you know, at moderate power, it was mind blowing. You know, that you can just go out and see this stuff, and that we have a universe around us of amazing planets to see, and comets and meteors and eclipses.
Yeah, and it seems like we've had kind of celestial event after celestial event, with more to come just over this next couple of years with eclipses and such. But we've had some bright comets. We, you know, we have this alignment of the planets that got people really excited. But I think what people are starting to realize is their connection to the universe.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's being articulated better than it ever has.
I think so. And now, you know, over the last 20 years or so, we know really more about the origin of us than we ever have. We know that the atoms, literally the very same atoms in our bodies, were created, the lightest ones in the early days of the universe, but most of the heavier than hydrogen and helium atoms in the deaths of stars, whether they be low mass stars that puff off their atmospheres, or solar type stars that die in planetary nebulae and recycle their material, or high mass, the superstars of the galaxy that have short lives and they explode in supernova explosions. And those atoms have been recycled. The universe is a giant recycling program.
Right.
You know, not to diminish its magnificence, but you know, we have those atoms in ourselves, and the fact that they can recombine in living beings who are now aware of where we are in the there are 100 billion galaxies out there, and the Milky Way is just one of them, and the sun is one of 400 billion stars in our galaxy. It's just an amazing thing that the stuff of the universe, star stuff, as Carl used to call it,
Right.
can now be aware. We can be sentient of why we're here and where we are.
I think it was Carl Sagan that said we are a way of the universe to know itself.
Exactly.
I'm paraphrasing, but I think
exactly
that's
right.
Right?
Yes,
So
you got it. Yeah.
You know, so I had a number of people come in and sit down yesterday with me. I think we did like 5 different interviews, and kind of an underlying theme. I wish that I kind of prompted them even a little bit more, but they gushed about their connection with the universe, how it made a paradigm shift in their mind and really improved their lives. You know, so I think that astronomy and, you know, whatever level you're coming in is an incredible gateway to becoming scientifically more literate. But at the same time, it opens people's minds up to more possibilities. It makes them relax more. It makes them put their own problems into perspective, because face it, folks, I mean, all of us have been there where we worried ourselves to death over something, or thought that some little thing that happened in our lives was so monumentally overpowering.
And that's a natural human thing, immediately to lead to the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And yet the cosmos does give us peace and comfort. And we're seeing, the universe, it's so large and so distant, most of it. We see a cosmic snapshot of the movie that's going on.
Right.
Our lives, maybe they'll be, we can hope, a century long, but still they're
It's kind of a spark, isn't it?
very, very short moments in this
Right.
cosmic movie that's gone on for 13.8 billion years. And the faintest low mass stars, these red dwarf stars, we know will be around for 1 trillion years. So we're a little blip in the cosmic time frame,
Right.
but yet we're miraculous that, Scott, we can sit here, be aware of this, and talk to
Right.
each other about it.
Right.
It's almost
And make the tools to provide the windows to explore it.
exactly.
So
And we should be very, very proud of being on the cutting edge.
I feel
doing
I
that,
feel privilege is what I feel.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and I think all of us that are somehow involved to be able to be kind of get a front row seat to some of this stuff, and to be able to talk about it and think about it more than maybe the average person might.
Absolutely.
Right.
Very, very well said. And it's also, it's a special time because, modern science really began 500 years ago with Galileo and his observations. He was in Padua, and there's a very prominent church. He happens to be buried there, entombed there now. But, his house, he was on the roof of his house, having heard, in alarm, he had one of those terrible human moments because he heard of, in the streets of Paris, simple telescopes being for sale on the streets of Paris. Well, this was an idea. He was an academician, so a mathematician and a tutor. Well, what do academics lack? Money. They're never paid well.
Right.
So he always imagined this idea for a magnifying telescope that he would invent and make. Well, he had a horrible panic. He rushed home, and a weekend,
because they're already selling these things,
because
right?
they're out there. He's heard in a weekend in his workshop, he created his first telescope, which you can see in the museum in Florence now, the Science Museum in Florence. The first telescope that he built, he demonstrated
in the weekend. Talk about that is like the concept. Any of us that make telescopes to go, okay, Scott, you're going to make a new telescope. You got 1 weekend to make it, okay, and to show it, okay.
He was a clever
that's
guy.
Amazing, really.
Yeah. And so he ultimately showed, what was the useful purpose of such a new telescope. Well, for military, of course, purposes at first. So he took the Doge of Venice up, the Campanile, and showed, distant ships on the horizon that were magnified. And suddenly the Doge poured money into Galileo, and he had a workshop, and he did what he did. That was the genesis of modern science. And that fall in 1609, after that happened, one night he was up, experimenting on his roof. And he moved, looking with that telescope from the steeple of the church over to the moon. And that was the first astronomical telescopic observation in history.
Oh,
and
wow.
The entire, what we're sitting with, the legacy we're sitting with now, with you and others here, Scott. From that day in the autumn of 1609.
Right.
And the amazing thing is that because of the science of astronomy and because of what you guys have done with the hobby, we've learned more in the last 40 or 50 years about the universe than we had in the 450 years between Galileo and 50 years ago. Right. So it is truly an incredible, mind-blowing. We do the Global Star Party.
Yeah, we do the Global Star Party, and I'm really
about,
happy that you're on all the time for this. Thank you. Thank you.
We talk about lots of these developments and so on, but we're awash in the sea of information now, and it's an amazing time to be into this.
Right. So let's talk about the difference between amateur astronomers and professional astronomers, and how that might relate to, I don't know, any other field of science that you might be able to get into. I think that amateur astronomers, we're not really on the sidelines, are we?
We're not on the sidelines. And for a little while, 40 years ago, professional astronomers said, to amateurs, we'd love to get your contribution in your data.
Wink, wink.
But now, with the precision of the instruments that
Yes.
you guys have made,
Right.
the astrometry, the photometry, the CCD cameras, the precision of
The
the
spectrographs.
optics, the spectrographs,
right.
you can do real science. There are papers every week. If you want to do science, there are professional astronomy papers that are being published with amateurs as co-authors in them now.
Yeah,
you
the
can do
field's wide open.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So anyways, we always encourage you to look up in the sky and to take those next steps. If you got nice equipment, look at the pro-am projects that are going on right now. One source of that is the American Astronomical Society.
Absolutely.
They've got great programs going on, but there might be other things going on with your local university. And most programs, like TESS, for example,
Yes.
have a great pro-am project going on.
That's right.
But let's talk about, you're at your 50th anniversary of the Astronomy Magazine. So how are you guys going to celebrate it through the rest of the year?
Let me just add one quick thing, and
Okay.
I'll get into that with the pro-am thing. We're really privileged in this field of astronomy because it's hard to be an amateur archaeologist who's at the cutting edge of archaeology.
Right.
It's dangerous to be an amateur surgeon, applied science. I don't recommend that to anyone.
There might be some out there, but
Unless
I don't want to
you
know
have
about
really
it.
good counsel who's willing to show up in front of the
Lawyer
judge
up.
with you.
Okay, that's right.
Not a good idea.
Yeah.
But the sky, the universe, the laboratory of astronomy is available just as much to amateurs. Whether we do science, whether we do imaging, whether we just observe galaxies and the photons and love it. For that, the same laboratory is open to us just as
And
it
the
is
same
to the
objects
professionals. And the same objects.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So, if you were into gems, you could never study the Hope Diamond, for example. That's not going to happen. Right.
That's right. Again, you need the lawyers again because you'll have to break into the
Break
Smithsonian
in and,
institution. Yeah, not a good idea.
steal it so you can study it up close.
It's not going to work out well,
No,
I think. Yeah,
no.
but it is a big year for us. It was 50 years ago that Steve Walther, who was a journalism student very interested in astronomy in Wisconsin, started Astronomy Magazine. He thought that he wanted a more popular magazine that appealed to beginners and to people getting into the hobby. I've only been there for 40 of the 50 years, so I don't really know personally much about
Majority of it.
the first decade. That's their fault. But I've been there for 40 years. And it's been a great experience and a great time. And we have some special surprises. It was August 1973 was the first issue of the magazine, which if you have that issue, hold on to it. It's rare and it's valuable. But we have our August issue this year will be an anniversary special oversized issue with a whole lot of surprises and special things. It'll open with an introduction by Dave Walther, Stephen's brother. Steve, tragically, if you don't know this story of amateur astronomy, Steve threw a big party in Milwaukee for the contributors, and he loved to spend money, Steve Walther. He was a lavish guy. And so he had a lot of the contributors and photographers and authors into a pool party at a big conference center on the lake in Milwaukee in 1976 and collapsed poolside. And the next day he was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor. Within less than a year, he was dead.
Wow.
So Richard Berry came in and sort of took over the magazine and righted the format of the ship. But we lost Steve long ago. But his brother, David Walther, an attorney who's now long retired, has written an introduction about the early days of the magazine. We have another special introductory section by Ann Dream, who's the executive producer of Cosmos, and Carl Sagan's widow as well, who's a brilliant friend and woman. So those kick off the issue, but then I'll leave the rest of everything as a surprise.
There's going to be some surprises.
Yeah,
okay, well, that's cool.
Going to be going off to the printer soon, so you'll see it in early July.
So if you're not a subscriber, subscribe now because they're going to take you on a wild ride through the universe. So
yes,
it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Any other thoughts that you have?
I would encourage people to, Scott does so much for this hobby. I would encourage people
This guy does so much for this hobby.
Mutual admiration tonight. So, I would encourage people, if they have the time, it's on Tuesdays normally when other crazy things like NEAF aren't going on, to watch the Global Star Party. Great, you have a great lineup of people contributing talks to that show, and you can watch
You're one of them.
Well, thank you. And you can catch them on YouTube. Of course, many people watch it live, but even more people watch them afterward. And there's so much great information that gets talked about on your show, Scott. So you should be very.
Yeah, when I think of the content and what these guys bring onto the show is amazing.
And that's what it's all about. It's about sharing our common love that we have with each other, and getting people excited about. It's a big universe out there. We only have one star here, one galaxy we're in, but there's a whole lot else out there to explore.
That's right.
So have fun with it.
All right. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks,
all right.
Scott.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And so we'll have more talks live from NEAF. It's the second day, Sunday here in Suffern, New York. And if you're anywhere near the area, you need to come on down. I think they shut down at about 5 o'clock today. So we've got a few hours to browse and see some of the latest stuff that you could ever hope to see here, and for the amateur astronomer.
You'll be a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, and you can stop by the Astronomy Magazine booth. So anyways, subscribe. It's astronomy.com, and get all set to learn more than you ever thought you could learn about the hobby. Not only about the hobby, but the understanding of the universe, because we're really lucky and fortunate to have content creators like Dave Eicher here and his team of editors providing us with all the latest details about the universe. So take care and keep looking up.
Thanks so much, Scott.
All right.